The Independent Police Investigative Directorate says it is continuing its investigation into allegations that KwaZulu-Natal Police Commissioner Lieutenant General Nhlanhla Mkhwanazi interfered in police operations. An anonymous complaint alleged that Mkhwanazi intervened in the arrest of former Westville Prison head Nelly Ndlovu. A planned march by his supporters was called off on Friday amid claims that IPID has dropped the case. However, IPID has confirmed the probe is still active and says it will not comment further until investigations are complete. Let's discuss this now, as well as the perspective of policing bodies on Muanazi's work in combating crime in the province. KZN Community Policing Forum Board Chairperson Siyanda Biyela weighs in. Siyanda, good morning. Welcome to Newzroom Afrika.
Good morning. Good morning to yourself as a host, and good morning to your viewers in this morning. Hopefully you have a great weekend.
Thank you very much for that. Now, before we get into it, could you share with us how you became involved in community policing and what motivates you to continue this work?
Obviously, the interest of community policing, or the interest of safety in our communities, becomes an interest of everyone, because the unfortunate circumstances that we've seen the gap as the community, where an interest of a relationship between the community and the police is imminent, but also a gap where our police service is unable to reach some of our spaces where us as a community must also come in and assist. Remember, community policing is part of the pillars that we must use in ensuring the safety of our communities, assisting South African police services. Come to a reality to say we always have an outcry in our society that there's a limited number of South African police services members in our community. So us as the community must wake up, take a stand and deal with criminal activities in our communities by preventing them through social cohesion programs, through identifying hotspots and assisting South African police services in identifying suspects. Because remember, they are in the police station responding on a 101 call, where someone will call and report a crime, then that's where they get involved, because they are more reactive than proactive. So us as a community must play a lending hand in ensuring that they get necessary support for them to cleanse our communities and ensure that those who are not doing well are taken to the correctional services.
On that note, Siyanda, as the KZN chairperson of the Community Policing Board, what would you say are the biggest challenges facing the community policing in KZN?
Some of the issues that we have is that this relationship that we are trying to build in some areas is okay, it's medium, in others it's excellent. So what we're trying to do is we need to find a way to uniformize such a relationship between the station management and the community policing board members, but also the scarcity of resources in terms of assisting the structures in their working resources or working tools. I'm aware that the provincial government and the national SAPS have tried to cough in some of the resources, but we believe that they are not enough. But we must find a way to also identify where the needs analysis are. But part of that, the issues that we have, is that we seek to get guidance and audience with the South African Police Service in going to the community and engaging the community in terms of what we must do and in terms of what is expected of them. Because the community has seen to really lean towards this trust deficit that we have as a community and the police, which we're trying to break that Baratin wall. So as we go forward, we wish that some of the discussions are more open for the community police boards, but also an engagement with the community is really put as part of the first item on the agenda as the South African Police Services and the CPFs.
All right, let's talk about Lieutenant General Mkhwanazi now. How would you characterize his leadership style, and what effect do you believe it has had on the KwaZulu-Natal police force?
The reality is, with the South African police services, you have a lot of members who, in terms of attitude, are at a 0.1 or at a -1 level, who just wake up in the morning and go to work. It's part of the issues that we are discussing with the president of POPCO to say, how can we best get his audience so that we can try and find a way to motivate his members, because we had a challenge where the South African Police Service members are not doing well. But in the instance, you'll also argue the system saying, if you have a leader who's able to enable an environment for the members or the employees to have an environment which is conducive for them to work, then the environment enables the members to also be able to be effective as they work. So we believe that with Lieutenant General Mkhwanazi in KwaZulu-Natal, I'm not saying anything about the past PCs so that I'm not quoted as a person who's comparing, but with him, he's been able to bring back the hope in policing, both in the communities, but also in the members, to professionalize the South African police services and give guidance and leadership as a leader of this province in terms of policing. So we want to applaud the work that is done and also pledge our support as the Community Police Board to say we support him and his work, but obviously understanding that with all of the issues that are happening now, we can't say, because no one is above the law. So if there's an instance where there are evidential aspects where he's believed to be part of a certain criminal system, let's tackle it head on. But the unfortunate circumstance is that when a certain department uses media to communicate rather than internalizing the system and the problem, it then derails the hope of our people, because currently he's the hope of policing in KZN, not by giving people money, but by ensuring that there's service, because our people are always outcrying that they want quick service and effective service. So if they see someone who's hands-on in the community, ensuring that safety is the priority, then they are happy and they applaud that more than they applaud the politicians. So I want to give you a roundup to say, as the board, we support him in his work. We'll continue supporting him. But if there's anything that people feel they must be directed to him, they must find a way to internalize the process so that they don't really create this media spectacle that has happened, where you see everyone now taking an opportunity to say we hands off Muanazi, do this march, and it's creating chaos in our communities. It's creating a lot of disturbance and a lot of uncertainty. So we want to say, for us to control the situation, we must be able to find proper channels to discuss the issues.
All right, let's expand a bit on that now. There's been a lot, as you've indicated, on General Mkhwanazi. Some saying these attacks are politically motivated. Do you think that the general is being targeted?
In the current belief in the system now, the chess game that is here, it tells me that. It tells me that you can't, there's no reason, that's what I'm asking, that's what I'm saying to you now. There's no reason for them to go to media and pronounce anything that that has to do with their internal things. Remember, the department, which is IPID, is responsible for ensuring that the police are working within the streams of the law, ensuring that the police are not overstepping or their authority of their powers in stamping to our communities, because the government is trying by all means to ensure that the past experiences that we had in terms of the apartheid police force is not inflated into this democratic republic. So as they do that, they must ensure that they keep an open eye and they keep the secrecy and they keep the integrity of the department of the South African Police Services and themselves, to ensure that every process is taken to a fore. I'll make you an example. There's never been, there's never been an investigation that has been published before any results. So you'd ask yourself a question that, why are they changing stories every day? That's why I'm saying the confusement that they've enforced in our communities has also erupted to this. That's why I'm telling you now, if by any chance this province has a highest risk of going back to a province of which is non-governable, like what happened with the case of former President Jacob Zuma. When he was arrested, there was a lot of chaos and they couldn't handle the system proper. Then we had looting. I'm suspecting the same thing might happen if we continue this way in a public domain. Let's ensure that all internal processes of IPID and South African Police Services are dealt with internally. A lot of provincial commissioners, members of the police have been be outside of the code of conduct. They've been called on the side. Why him? Why is he the only one who's been called in the media and the one that has been painted all over the media? Is it because he's working or he's a positive one in the system? We do not know. But we feel that in the current setup of how things are run, it is a target to him. And it shows us that now we are losing our professionalism as departments of IPID and the Department of South African Police Services.
All right. Now, General Mkhwanazi had stated that the letter regarding the IPID case has been withdrawn. However, the IPID contends that the investigation is still ongoing. Now, in what way do you believe that the actions of the IPID might impact police morale and efficiency in tackling crime?
As I was saying to you before, Mkhwanazi has not done anything. He's never given anyone bonuses in the province in terms of police. He's never given anyone new cars. He came to the system because as a leader, he's positive and wants to move. People started believing in him internally in the department. Then people are working. People are not scared to say, hey, one day PC can rock up in the station and I have to rush, do something. They are doing it wholly because he's reminded them of what the oath of the South African Police Service says for them to serve. So for me, I believe it starts to really regress the attitude, as I've said before, which was now uplifted of our members. But also, it shows that the South African Police Services as a department must really zoom into their internal processes in terms of, there's a lot of reasons why I say this. There are a lot of challenges in terms of bloated staff on the issue of ranks. People have been staying in 15, 20 years as a warrant officer. But, there's a lot of cases that are there, which the South African Police Service must really focus on and deal with their organizational structure and ensuring that they enable the other members to develop within the structure, but also create a baseline where they're able to work efficiently by being given an environment which is enabling them to do so. But we are saying to you, as the media, we want to say what IPID is doing must be dealt with internally. We're not saying someone must be protected, but we are saying some things must be done at a private setup so that they do not create chaos in our communities.
Siyanda, now, Ntabeleng Molefe, the Provincial Secretary of Pop Crew in KZN, expressed disappointment with the IPID's actions, saying that it's clear that they have an agenda to persecute Mkhwanazi and distract him from fighting crime. So what's your perspective on the accusations that the IPID has become a spokesperson for criminals?
I wouldn't want that to be. The unfortunate circumstance is that the law of South Africa and the Constitution guides us. And unfortunately, I would want to point fingers because I have not sat with IPID and engaged on this. But I want to say, as the board, we are realizing that the unfortunate circumstance is that we see the departments, each other fighting and not making sense, because IPID is there to check if there's anything that has happened which is wrong. If then there's anything that is wrong, there's a framework that they must follow and they must use in ensuring that they resolve the issues and internal systems. But when they go out there and change stories now and again, then it becomes a challenge and it tells you now, it's not about Mr. Biyela, it's about a certain person who says Mr. Biyela must be pushed over. So it becomes a challenge for all of us. That's why we are calling on that IPID must be back to their books and be professional. As much as they say they are protecting the rights of the communities, or the rights of everyone who has to complain. It's the same setup as you have in the Tegwini district. We have a lot of migrants here in the communities. The minute the community and the police takes action in moving them away from the public spaces, which they've hijacked in accordance to the community, then a certain group called the Human Rights Commission comes in. Now you ask yourself a question, where were you when people were being pocketed? Where were you when people were being hijacked by the same people who are sleeping and loitering in the streets? So it's part of those government departments which we believe sometimes they lose focus into their mandate, but they are also not proactive in ensuring that they try and prevent such instances or such incidences to happen, because the unfortunate circumstance, that is why as the board we applaud the work of the consultation by CIRA. We have a challenge in South Africa and Tegwini district, Enanda, in KwaZulu-Natal, of people who have guns. We've said this before. The easy access of guns in our communities probe the South African Police Services member to level up and be able to police the communities and to protect themselves, as we've seen a day before. A member of the protection unit was gunned down in Enanda. So what is that to you? It tells you that the communities that we have are armed more than the police at some instances. So they must be at times, at all material times, be on guard and ensuring that they guard themselves, which is not a problem. For me, it makes sense. But IPID must also be able to listen to both the community's perspective and vis-a-vis the policies that they have, so that they get a better view and a better understanding of what is happening in our communities.
Siyanda, now Police Minister Senzo Mchunu, responding to questions at the National Policing Summit yesterday, says he's in the dark regarding the Mkhwanazi IPID probe. He's saying he's learning of the details through the media. Do you think that the minister should be privy to this investigation? I mean, considering it is the police leader for a province, I mean, he's the police leader for a province where crime continues to be high.
I'd want to, one of the things that I want to accord is that it's very unfortunate that such departments are then established and unable to have accountability. Because as far as I know, the DPCI and the IPID and the Civil Secretary for Police, the Department of the Police Services, all must report to the minister. But unfortunately, the intelligence services, we have these red tapes. That's what I was saying to you. Sometimes the Constitution and the Act granted some things that you do not understand how then the past leaders have agreed on. Because as much as they want to work we want them to work independently without any political or any interference, but we want them to be also open to the minister, because as an executive authority of police in the South African basis, he must be able to account to the president, must be able to account to the citizens who have voted his party and entrusted them with the responsibility. So unfortunately, I have a belief that with such a drastic move, he was supposed to be the first one to know, him and the National Commissioner, to understand what is the gist of the situation and how they want to tackle it on, so that he's able to abreast and advise, if so, recommend how the process must unfold.
All right. Siyanda, lastly, before we let you go, I mean, in light of this planned march that was recalled on the basis that people were under the impression that IPID had actually withdrawn the investigations, but we now know that the investigations are ongoing. Do you know if the march will now continue?
I'd want to highlight that we had, as a police board, we have not been organizing, or we've not been part of any organizing team of a certain march. We've taken our hands off so that we allow the system of the criminal justice system, or whatever query or aspect to take through. But we want to also accord our communities. It is good to see them supporting the work of the police or the work of Nhlanhla Mkhwanazi, but we want to accord them to call them for calm. Because these marches sometimes will get out of hand and will get a lot of disturbance in our communities. So we call for calm in our communities and allow the process to go through. We are believing that this process will show us one day, because the truth, you can't sit on it for years, it will one day come through. So we are saying we call for calm in our communities. If there are marches that are being coordinated, can they please be coordinated through proper channels and through proper systems, so that they are able to give guidance. Every district, every station, even in the province, we have us as the provincial board. Consult the provincial board, we are able to assist you in ensuring that there is no harm that is before the community and that is targeted towards businesses. Because some people in these marches will take an opportunity to loot, will take an opportunity to destroy certain infrastructure, which then becomes a different turnover out of a peaceful demonstration that some of the people would have felt that they want to. We're not saying we want to centrally organize it, but can we be consulted in the process so that we are able to advise and assist in terms of this process that is going to unfold?